That is a Faris request to fill up the front seats if possible. So all of you, first of all, I'm Maria Holiday, and I'm the former chair of the Johnson County Republican Party, but more importantly, I'm a friend and supporter of Faris Farassati. I am so glad to see this room full. Do you have an index card on your chair? The moderators here today are going to be asking the questions, but if you would like to ask a question when we get through the initial ones, the three of us have brainstormed some questions. We're going to shoot those to Faris, and if we haven't covered something that you want to hear about, we want you to write that on the index card. We're going to pick them up, and then we'll ask those questions until we run out of time, until they kick us out of here. But we don't have a flag in here, but I feel like we should start with the pledge. Yeah. Do we have a picture of a flag? No? Okay.
Everybody in red, white, and blue, stand there.
Yeah. Well, let's stand and we'll close. We'll imagine we have a flag. We know whether we have it or not. Yo, Roberta has Old Glory on her T-shirt.
There we go.
All right. Right hand over the heart. I pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. We want to get right to it because we know we're starting, we said 4:30, and we have to wait for people to wander in. But I am proud to be supporting Faris Farassati for mayor of Overland Park for a multitude of reasons. And the first question that we're going to put to him is an opportunity for him to tell us all what his vision for Overland Park is. So I'll let you go for that.
More than honored, and it's my great pleasure to be here today. Thank you each and every one of you. It's 4:30 on a Friday. I'm sure you had much more exciting places to be, but now you are here in the library, and we're going to talk about the beautiful business of the city of Overland Park. So thank you very much one more time. My name is Faris. I am a cancer scientist at Kansas City VA Medical Center. I and my wife were joint recruited to We're joint recruited from Minneapolis to KU Medical Center. Then she stayed there, and she's a gastroenterologist there. They kicked me out. I went to the VA hospital. So honored to be at the service of our veterans. My lab works on brain tumors for the time being, and liver cancer to some extent. And then I got involved with city council when a vacancy came on, and then I was selected essentially because the vacancies are not filled with an election; they are just selected for that term. Then I won the next year term, and then I won the term after that. Why do I do this? What is that I want to accomplish? To be perfectly honest with you, I have asked that question from myself many times. And I think there are many problems in Washington, D.C. And it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you are on. There are problems in Washington, D.C. I may not have a reach to fix those, but I may want to do something about my own city. The vision that I have for Overland Park is according to what people of Overland Park during my 6-year term on the council explained to me, which is a safe place for them, good education, good amenities, quiet, peaceful. Some people say Overland Park is a bed and breakfast suburb. I don't find any problem with that. I don't find any problem with quiet. I don't find any problem with peaceful. The vision that I have is a government-free to a certain extent from the influence of the special interest groups. So not big, deep pocket developers try to pick your city council members and your mayors for you. They are doing what is benefiting them the most. I don't blame them for that. They want to make money. But you need true representation. Otherwise, there could be a lot of issues pouring down. And we're going to choose some of them as the panel and you guys ask me questions. But in the big spectrum, a research-based, logical government that does good stewardship through your tax dollars and puts these tax dollars back to increase the quality of your life. That's the #1 agenda. It should be the agenda for any form of government. Otherwise, taxation is not legitimate if you are not going to put it back where the quality of life for the people increases. And that's the problem I have with the current administration. Conflict of interest and catering too much to the satisfaction of special interest groups. I stop.
Well, Faris, that's great on the good start on the vision, and I would encourage you on all the questions and topics today. Your vision is more than just a platform, it's everything you just said. So I would suggest expand on that as we go today on all through the other questions. One thing that came up, and I came up with this question because I saw it on the forum that was with your competitor, and it was on the question of public pools. And I thought, okay, but when I listened to it and went back on it, you know, there was a comment about, well, it's a $15 million investment, which is a lot of money to build a nice outdoor pool. And the current mayor said that it's only used about 2.5 months out of the year because it's staffed by, the management of the pool staffed by teachers during the summer and lifeguards from the students. So my question to you today, and he said they looked at it 10 to 15 years ago on city council, but then I look at all the other investments that they're making around, and I'm thinking, for the kids that live like north of 435 and some of the other older neighborhoods that don't have HOAs that have built community pools for their little neighborhoods, what are those kids going to do in the summer? I don't think every kid can play, wants to sign up for baseball or soccer or all the other things. And when it's, you know, when it's 110 degrees out and humid, what are those kids supposed to do? So as mayor, my question is, will you commit to reviewing again the question of public pool situation for the children of Overland Park? They may not be able to vote yet, but I'm sure they have a strong interest.
Absolutely. So when you buy your house in a city, in a municipality, and by expansion of that in a state and in a county and a state, I believe there are certain contracts that you enter with that government, even if they are not written on the paper. One of them is that there is a quality of life that we promise to you. And you come here and put your hard life earning and buy a house here, and we're going to hold up to that for you. Community pools are one of them. Simple. People bought the house in case of Blue Jacket Pool and the other pools that are being threatened to be closed. They bought the houses with their eyes on that pool, on that amenity. It's very simple. We need to keep our promises. And we are not living in a city that is in shortfall of income. It just amazes me when the will of the people and this promise is being ignored. One aspect of it is this pool business that, okay, well, people use it for 2.5 months. Yeah, it is Kansas, it's not Florida. Well, what do you want me to do, bring my kids in December to the pool? So, but I bought my house next to this amenity. We need to keep them. And also it amazes me of the $15 million price tag. I have asked a couple of pool builders, and the numbers they are giving me is nowhere, absolutely nowhere, close to $15 million. Usually the government runs like this. When they want to do something, it's very cheap, very affordable. When they don't want to do something, the cost goes to the roof. So I absolutely, as far as a mayor can do it, I commit to give that boom jacket pool back and update it to the kids of that neighborhood and not close any public pool. Because it's a quality of life and you guys pay for it. She's telling me to smile. You know?
I've known him a long time. The smile is real. How close? Faris, you and I have worked together on various campaigns and things. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for running. I've gotten to know Faris over the last 4 years. I ran against Faris 4 years ago, and after the first debate, and we were at different parties, he came up to me and said, "You and I need to talk." And I was new to politics. I knew I was a Republican, he was a Democrat. I said, "What the hell for?" And he said, "Because we're in different parties, but we want the same thing for the residents of Overland Park. Zoning integrity, and councilmen and the mayor to represent the people and not developers." So from that time, I did a lot of research on taxes, tax increases, and spending. And if you look at the spending in some of the departments of this city, they're up 20, 40, 50, 100% year over year over year. We underspend the budget, but yet we increase the budget by double digits. And then we have a surplus, and they have millions of dollars in contingencies. Terry Frederick has a great analysis that he put on Facebook about the increases that are going on in the city, and it's staggering, and you're paying for them. One of the biggest questions I have is for the city, the residents of Overland Park. Why do you keep voting against your own best interest with the city council? But we know that they keep increasing taxes, they keep spending. Faris, what will you do to try to rein in the spending of an out-of-control city government?
Thank you. So, the national environment right now in our country is about government efficiency. And the government efficiency should be done with a meticulous behavior. Not, out of control, with study, with research, but we all know that government wastes money. I don't think any one of you here sits here and says, no, I'm quite okay with the way that Washington spends and the way that the state spends and the way that the city spends. So the number one thing that I want to do is to form a citizen advisory commission on the budget. People of Overland Park right now, mechanistically and in real time and in a real manner, have no say in the budget. Yes, there is a meeting, you can show up there for 30 minutes and talk about it, and then they look at you, they smile at you, and they're like, okay, next. That's not involved. We want to put together a citizen advisory commission or a resident advisory commission on the budget. And it would have representation from each ward. It's not going to be a bunch of people handpicked by the mayor only. No. From each ward, they're going to be representation from each walks of life. Teachers, artists, engineers, doctors, lawyers, accountants, all kind of professions, homemakers. And then they're going to provide priority expenditure for the city. And then the staff and the council would try to align expenditure with those priorities. By definition of doing that, you can put some level of saving on the expenditure, or at least direct the dollars towards where the priorities of the people are. They don't want this chip seal. People of Overland Park for the last 20 years have said, we don't want the chip seal. Put an end to it. We will do that. Number two, the level of bureaucracy that exists in this government has to go down. There are departments that do not need that many staff. And there are departments that they won't touch. Public safety, police department, OP, fire department, I won't touch their budget. One of the things that I applaud the current administration is the commitment to make a new police training facility. That's a good thing. We want an educated, well-trained police force. That's the only way to have a police department. But you don't need a brand new $140 million city hall. We don't need it. If you cannot afford bread, you don't buy cake. We don't need to spend $36 million on a farmer's market that was functioning very fine. We have a hotel that loses money. At some point, we need to let go. We shouldn't be in hotel business. These things are going to be cut. Again, I'm not promising that single-handedly I can do it, but I will push for it. The other thing that we need to do is zero-based budget. So each department is given $1 at the beginning of the budget year. Then they have to come to the negotiation table and prove what they need based on their performance. Okay, law office, law department. You have 7 lawyers. Oh, you want to hire 2 more? Why? How many court cases you had? How much legal work you had to do last year? Prove to me that 7 lawyers can do it. I guarantee you, we can have a good amount of saving, and in my opinion, to the tunes of at least 10 to 15% in the $460 million budget that we have. The way they do the budget right now is this: they calculate, they evaluate how much money they can raise, then they budget to spend to the last dollar of it, or some of it goes to the reserve fund. That's not the way to do it. These mechanisms, citizen advisory budget, zero-based budget, commission, zero-based budgeting, efficiency and redirecting tax dollars to the priorities of the people of Overland Park would let us bring down your property taxes. Because then we can accept revenue neutrality, and if there is a question, I can explain what that is. But one of the good things which comes out of this is not only your dollars will go to your priorities, number 2 is that we will be able to at least freeze your property taxes, which I know is on the back of every person, working, non-working, senior citizen, fixed income. This doubling of property tax every 7-8 years, 50% increase in 4 years and 7 months cannot continue.
I would like to volunteer. Thank you, that's a great answer. And I would like to volunteer to be on that commission.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not going to be you volunteer. I'll support the police force to bring you in.
Okay, so you talked a lot about spending. I would like to know how much control the mayor actually has over staff. And can you elaborate on being 1 vote on the county commission, or I'm sorry, on the city council, and how much input you have there, or any mayor, for example?
We have a mayor-city manager structure in the city of Overland Park. The fact remains that I'm against that structure too. I gotta get some credit for being called Dr. No, right? I mean, I can't leave it at that. So the bottleneck in the control of the council and the staff is the city manager. Okay, but we also go to this with a spirit of cooperation, working with the system. You don't go to a system and try to eradicate everything from the beginning. You never accomplish anything. The way to do it is that the mayor sets the vision and the agenda for the city council. In that category, he has power. Number 2, he assigns members to the committees that decide on the budget, that, for example, the finance administration. So that's another level of the influence of the mayor on what happens in terms of the staff. But if the mayor single-handedly can vote and say, okay, I'm going to fire 40 people, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I think if the rational decision-making would flow better, we could make that happen with the combination of fair and just votes on the council and the city manager that now has new priorities put in front of him or her, and he or she would act on that. But at the end of the day, if the mayor single-handedly can do that, the answer is no, and I don't intend to be a lone wolf and just go by myself. I will try to get the departments to see the value in this. I will have the Citizen Advisory Commission on the budget. They will put together guidelines, and hopefully we get the agreement of the rest of the operation.
Faris,
Yes.
this isn't really something you need to respond to, but just a suggestion. One thing I noticed on the Overland Park website, things like that, they compare themselves on mill levies and all that against our neighboring cities. And I'm like, well, is that good or bad? I mean, I know we compete against them for jobs and creating jobs and employees, but why not, has the city ever looked at best-in-class other cities around the country, similar size, maybe in the snow belt, not in the snow belt? And then the other thing I was thinking about is consultants. I worked in the greater financial services industry all my career, and every time I turned around, they were bringing in McKinsey and consulting to come in and merger and slash cost and all that. Do we only look internally, or do we have the opportunity to grab a consultant to look about, is there a way to save money and do more for less? So that's just some thoughts.
I'll answer the last one. May God bless his soul. Councilman Terry Goodman had the saying which says, consultants turn problems to gold, your problems to their gold. So consultants are justified when you legitimately don't have the expertise in your staff to do something. But it shouldn't be used as a way for your staff not to do their job and hand it over to somebody else. And I see that repeatedly in the OP government, that consultants are used in a way that, well, you know what, if I could contract this thing out for $250,000, why do I want to do it myself? Now, will not fly with it. I even remember they hired a consultant for some traffic study from out of town somewhere, Boston or something. Somebody who came and sat in a hotel and ate a bunch of steaks and counted the number of cars in the parking lot or something. That is not going to rhyme with me. We are going to keep it local, number one in Overland Park, if there are expertise there, if not in the metropolitan Kansas City at least. And if we absolutely do not have expertise in our staff, and if we don't, like we had, the question is why we don't have the expertise. This need didn't come through suddenly one day. This need has been there. So we need to plan to bring in those expertise. So we would be some level of self-sufficiency. And remember, the bias, when you hire somebody from outside, they are not as legitimately bound by ethics that your staff is supposed to be bound to it. I'm not saying anybody is corrupted or anything, but it's just an outsider entity. Our staff are supposed to be very evidence-based, very impartial. So that's another benefit you get to do things in-house.
Okay, we're 30 minutes in, so I'm going to invite people to write questions they may have. We have some that the three of us have brainstormed prior to coming in, so we're going to continue with those, but if you'll have those ready, we'll send somebody around the room to grab cards from you. But the next question that we brainstormed, and I've heard this answer, but I think everybody else should hear it, is where do you stand on the issue of putting the Royal Stadium in Overland Park, and why? And how do you feel about the use of star bonds for this?
No, and not on my watch.
Why?
Okay, why? There are 3 references on my Facebook. Each and every one of them are done by experts. And they say any stadium brings somewhere about 8 to 11% increase in crime rate up to 5 miles radius. That's my only reason to it. We don't need extra crime. We don't need extra traffic. We don't need extra stress. This is a sleepy, quiet, peaceful neighborhood. I can't be more straightforward. I am not going to allow, to the best of my capacity, that the stadium to come. Kansas City, Missouri deserves it. They built it. Let them have it. We go watch Royals and support them over there. We don't need the extra hassle. It's a bad proposal. We are not prepared for it. We don't have the police force. 86 nights a year, 25,000 people drive to this place. Just imagine that. Imagine what kind of chaos that would bring. It's simple. And I can assure you that over 95% of people I have spoken with, it's in my ward, it's in Ward 5 as well, have had the same concerns. Some of them told me, we will sell and leave if there is a stadium there. We just don't want it. What kind of crime? Burglaries, violent crimes? Those are not petty theft crimes. Some of them are serious crimes. So, no.
Next question, Faris. What areas of Overland Park government need more transparency?
The budget, the amount of taxes, incentives that they give out, it's so hard. It was so hard for me as a council member to ask the staff in the city manager office, can you please tell me how much money you gave away? Send me a spreadsheet. It took so long, and they just did not want to release those information, and they took every single step possible to not release it. The tune is that in the last 15 years is over $700 million handed over to a bunch of developers. If I was them, I wouldn't have submitted it. The number one is there. Is right now the stewardship towards tax dollars, who these big pockets of tax are going to, and what we are getting back. That's the number one priority in terms of transparency.
Okay, next. This one touches local politics with national politics. Recently, our mayor made an announcement that the local Overland Park Police Department would not support ICE in their efforts to find and deport criminal illegal aliens. What is your position on the Overland Park Police Department attempting to enforce federal law?
Again, a straightforward answer. Overland Park will support all federal and state laws that need enforcement in terms of immigration. Simple. We have a sworn duty to uphold the laws of the United States of America, the state, and our city. We have the sworn duty towards safety of our residents. Overland Park, under my watch, will fully support with enforcement of federal immigration laws. I am not sure how can you say no. I'm not 100% sure how can you say no to that. The governor of Kansas, to the best of my knowledge, has signed a no sanctuary city law. So I'm not even sure if whatever your political ideology is, how can you not support enforcement of federal law? So no, that's nice.
Okay, this one's from the crowd. It's two questions. The first one is a follow-up to the stadium. How can you stop the stadium from coming to OP? The second one is, what can be done to eliminate the beggars soliciting money on street corners? And I'm going to add to that I've personally called because I have seen school-aged children on corners, and I have seen girls who look young and vulnerable on corners. And I was told by the police department that it's not considered loitering, and that there was nothing they could do. That they were no longer enforcing that law.
So, you had that problem when I was on the council. The answer was that if they are not intervening with the flow of the traffic, you can't do anything about it. But then that could be going through a legislative process, through a city council. City council can, again, upon the voice of the people being heard. The problem we have is that the voice of the people is not being heard. But if we can put a commission on it, they evaluate the problem, they bring the voice of the people, what people want to the council, council can probably move forward and form some sort of legislation to ban that. Especially when we are seeing underage minors being at risk. We have a duty for that too, right? I pass by a corner and some kid is under 100 degrees temperature for like 5 hours. There's a level of humanity that needs to be protected. So it needs work through the council. But the question is, are these items that the council could decide would ever come to the council? Or no, they are too busy doing other stuff. So again, when we say citizen participation, the fruits of it is that these demands will come in front of the council. I will bring it, I put it on the agenda, I have the authority to put it on the agenda, and then we will see who is going to vote for it and who's going to vote against it. Same as the stadium. Same as the stadium. We will put it on the agenda, we will officially conduct research, our departments will go and we'll see if the crime rate has increased. Then we put it on the agenda that the city of Overland Park is not going to allow. We need to permit this thing. And then we will see which council member, which staff member has what point of view, and hopefully they act logically to the duties of representing the people of Overland Park.
Okay. Hold on. Can you want to write it down?
It's a follow-up to the question.
If you want to write it down, because we're going to follow the same rules for everybody that way. Otherwise, one person talks and then we can't get through the list. So there's some background on here, but it also goes to a question that was submitted this afternoon from another constituent. Our city's comprehensive plan, Framework OP, was built with thousands of residents, with input from thousands of residents. It calls for more housing variety, so Overland Park has a future for the next generation. Yet your public focus is consistently on the residents who want to stop that kind of housing. Why should the families who want their own children to be able to afford a house here trust you to represent their vision for OP? And there was a follow-up here, the other question, which is also on housing. Actually, there's a couple of them here. What is your opinion on portfolio homes, and what have you seen on the new UDOs coming? And a third one was everyone's concerned about apartments. How do the changes coming from the Johnson County Commissioner's zoning decisions impact Overland Park? And as a realtor, I'm concerned about affordable housing too, but that word affordable is now a new catchphrase. It's what you say instead of Section 8. And you know, somebody goes to Mission Hills and tells them that they have to make affordable housing, see where you get with that. But I'd like to hear your take on housing in Overland Park. I think everybody does.
Okay, so housing obviously is a concern in the United States. We are all concerned about the price of the real estate for our kids, for our grandkids. There's no question. There's no question that that's a concern. But we gotta be realistic about the extent of the duty and the power of the local government in this game. Number one, the significant amount of tax incentives given out to the developers, hundreds of millions of dollars, $230 million to the brokerage, $90 million to Blue Hawk, and the list goes on, has not created 1 square foot of affordable housing in Overland Park. Where is it? No. A bunch of luxury apartments, and no, none of that has ever gone that. So that's proven to be wrong. Very simple. It's not for that. It's just catering to the needs of deep pocket developers. Number one, this city has not, if the agenda has been affordable housing, tax incentives have not done that. The same way that Professor David Merriman at the University of Chicago has evaluated 78 TIF districts and has proven that not one of them contributed to economic development the way that they were projected to do. If they were matching the open market characteristics, they prevailed. If they didn't, they didn't prevail. Prairie Fire is in front of your eyes, and that financial disaster which is happening. So that's number one, that policy is void and null. Number two is that the first question you have, if you have the zoning to build apartments, go for it. Just don't come and ask us to rezone in the middle of a residential neighborhood, in the middle of a golf course, to give you 500 apartments on the top of, there is a cherry on the top. In this case, cherry is in the bottom. We were getting projects that not only had 200 apartments, but they were a 24/7 storage unit at the bottom, just to make it clear. If you have the zoning for it, if you buy a piece of land which is zoned for apartments, by all means, I am on good use and good stewardship towards the land of Overland Park. We have areas that have appropriate zoning for apartments, go for it. Don't go buy a golf course and bring a big shot lawyer and ask the council also not to pay your taxes. I will stand in front of that. I lived in apartments with my wife when we were in training. Apartments are needed. What we don't need is apartment invasion. That's what we are facing. Johnson County study in year 2021 or 2020, I don't exactly remember, predicted that to the year 2030 or 2031, we needed 5,000 apartment units. To this date right now, we put the numbers together, and this research comes from very active and informed residents that they just feed my campaign with research. They're just passionate about their city. We have permitted or built over 7,200 unit apartments. Essentially, we don't need one more apartment until the year 2030 or 2031. But the agenda is not, again, one form of housing. The agenda is, again, misusing it to benefit some developer. I don't blame the developer. They are doing the best to make it. Profit, but your council should work for you and for your quality of life.
Thanks, Faris. This one is near and dear to my heart and should be near and dear to each of your hearts because it's a huge issue. The headline is, how do we break the cycle of the conflict of interest of developers? The price, since the last campaign, the maximum contribution used to be $500 for an individual or a company. The state recently changed that to $4,000 for an individual or an organizational entity. As a result of that, the Price brothers alone, in their different organizational entities and family members, have contributed over $40,000 to Scoob's campaign. As of the last check, he'd received $68,000 from the developers. And that was just through July. How do we break this cycle of conflict of interest? And should this be a concern to the residents of Overland Park? Because that conflict of interest affects your zoning and what gets built next to you. It affects the number of apartment buildings that come in here and the massive development. And it affects how many of your tax dollars go directly into the pockets of those developers after they've bought and paid for each of the city council members and the mayor.
Today I answered the question, last time actually, I answered the questionnaire for Kansas City Stop. Conflict of interest is the #1 problem in the city council of Overland Park. It's just the #1 problem, which is exactly the mechanism is just like what you said. And I don't think it's news to any of us. It has happened in many of these cities. We just don't want to follow that path. Is Jeff Coulson here? Jeff? No, okay. Jeff Coulson is, again, one of those concerned and very informed citizens. He brought a pledge last time that if you had received more than $500 from any entity, you will recuse yourself from their agenda item on the council when it comes in front of them. That's a good thing. I'm going to bring it as a legislation. I'm going to put it on the agenda. I'm going to bring it forward. We'll see who votes for it and who doesn't vote for it. And people are going to be informed how we voted for it and how if you didn't vote for it. I will also conduct, again, to the best ability of mine, in this system via the city manager, the IT department to have an online tracking of each and every vote, which will stay there forever, a database of, in simple language, of each and every politician voting. Right now, the sessions of the city council gets recorded, then, I don't know, a year later it gets deleted on YouTube, but that's a video. No, we're going to put together a database of how you voted. My function would be to bring your voice and try to put the legislation and then bring it to the council. With your support, things will eventually change. So that's what we're going to do about it.
Can I follow up? One of the questions asked by the audience follows up from Mike's question. They asked about campaign donors, but they also added the group of family members of city council or the mayor. Should they be recused from voting? If you're a family member, if you have a family member on city council,
yeah. So in one case, I think they are referring to one case that the council member is their family member brings and presents cases on behalf of developers. Obviously, the answer of our legal department is that there is no conflict of interest there. That's the answer. I'm sure there were involvement with our legal department. This is a technical matter, but we also have a conflict of interest law. There was one time that I got a bid from one construction firm over a project, and the same construction firm came in front of the council, had an agenda. I spoke with our legal services, and they said, it's better if you recuse yourself, because you never were their customer, but you got a bid from them. And I did. Now it amazes me that this thing is not conflicted. It's absolutely amazing to me. My personal view is that, yes, you have to recuse yourself from that item. If your brother-in-law, your father, your mother is presenting a multi-million-dollar case, not the case to raise 3 chickens. I mean, some multi-hundred-million-dollar case, you should recuse yourself. That's my personal view. But this is a technical matter. And I would definitely reopen that conversation with our legal department. And now here is a place you want consultants. You see this? Because in-house legal department is working for the city. Okay, here is a place that maybe you will get a law professor from, I don't know, somewhere to give a legal opinion.
So this goes again along with it, but it's a little broader question. What areas of Overland Park government need more transparency?
I think we answered that. And I said that the first thing is expenditure and the flow of the dollars towards any budget item and what came out of it. Simple language, without jargons, without, one of the problems we have always is that the staff will throw you, this was told to me by another person, would throw you hundreds of pieces of paper. And that's what they do. Simple language, every year, a report to the public about the investments that the city did, the tax dollars that the city spent, and what came out of it. That's one area that I think we need the most amount of transparency. I believe the rest of the departments, either they are too technical and the transparency is not going to be something they need. I think our police department is doing fine, but I believe the stewardship towards tax dollars needs huge, huge advancement in their transparency. And remember that voting record database would improve the transparency.
Okay, I'm reading them as they come to us.
Thank you.
So this one says, how do you plan on making Overland Park great again?
Less apartments, more dollars towards getting rid of chip seal, minimum freezing property taxes. The state legislature, I'm going to get to this now. A state legislature, the state of Kansas has allowed the cities to freeze their property tax. essentially. So the way they call it is truth in taxation. So the mayor keeps saying that our property tax rate is the same. It's the devil is in the term rate. So if your property was valued at $800,000 this year, and next year is like $1.2 million, the rate is the same, but the rate is going to take certain amount of money out of that, and you're going to pay a bunch of more money. One more time. Right now, every 4 years and 7-8 months, you are going to have a 50% increase in your property. The state has allowed the cities to bring that rate back, so your bill for the property tax of the city would not go up. I want to do that. Since it became available, every year I voted for revenue neutrality. And every year I said, let's at least experiment 1 year. Cut the expenditure and see if we could live within our means. I voted for it. I believe 2 of the council members there voted for it. Councilman Hamblin, when he was on the council, voted for it. The rest of them are like, no, we love the extra income. So this is one thing that we could do. So making Overland Park a beautiful place, keeping it a beautiful place for our future children, at the end of the day, folks, does not come to ideology, it comes to money, how you spend your tax dollars. But for that, you need to have the right vision. Government is a number game. If you direct the numbers towards the priorities of the people, based on research, based on realities of life, you will have a good city. Any other formula is a disaster.
Faris, there are 2 questions with this one, this person. First one, again, near and dear to my heart. What happened to the Deer Creek Golf Course? And mill and overlay costs are 10 times what chip seal costs. How will you pay for that?
When I was on the council, I contacted the beautiful city of Leawood, and I asked them about this mill and levy question. The answer came back like it's like 1.8, 2 point something more than chip seal. It was never 10 times. I don't know. Again, it's one of those cases when the government wants to do something, it's absolutely expensive, unaffordable. But if you are cooking a steak, you want to cook a small piece of meat but the right way. A huge piece of meat and you burn it is not going to be good for you. That's our approach to the government. We're going to prioritize dollars towards residential street improvement the right way. We won't put a rural grade that is going to tear up the face of your kid. People showed up as early as 2015 with the pictures of the face of their kids torn up because they fell on this, what they call human cheese grinder. We are not going to do that. And then for the environmentalists in our government, in what conscience do you vote for something that clogs up your drain and messes up your stormwater management system? What is that? So I don't believe the cost is that much. Leawood doesn't do it that way. And I believe we just fix the right way and we redirect dollars from the places that are not necessary and we get there. Yes, City of Overland Park in 2021 was $320 million thanks to the misguided policies of the council at that time and our existing mayor in debt in residential street improvement, $310 or $20 million. $100 million in arrears for stormwater management. It rains and people get a pool in their backyard in Deer Creek. That needs to be fixed. It will take a time. Even not enough for a 4-year term mayor, but we start going that way. The problem is that right now we are not even going that way. We are still chip sealing. So the second question, to the best of my knowledge, Deer Creek is in court. It shouldn't be like that, that you need to go pay a lawyer to defend yourself. The prepaid legal services should be your tax dollars that you pay to the city of Overland Park. And they will protect your zone. And they will protect you against a gigantic apartment complex going next to your house. It shouldn't be like that. But in this case, the neighborhood or certain individuals were resourceful, and the case is in court, and we will see what comes out of it. I don't have an update. I don't think the decision has been made. Do you know, Mike? The decision has been made?
The decision has not been made. The last time it went before a judge, she sent it, she decided not to rule on it, and it's now at the appeals court. Brad Bergman, who lives in Deer Creek, is single-handedly paying for the attorneys to represent the Deer Creek neighborhood to stop the residential development on 3 of the holes that are there. And I think it goes to the appeals court sometime towards the end of this year.
13 neighborhoods are on my website. They were all being threatened by a gigantic project in all wards of the city. I worked with each and every one of them. I hope they remember. I was with them, I listened to them, and I presented their case at the council. 13 neighborhoods. In all these 13 neighborhoods, the current mayor voted against the neighbors. At the same time, there were few cases where people were objecting to a zoning right of a developer. I told them straightforward, no, it's his right. He has the right zoning. He's not asking for rezoning. Nobody can stop him. You guys have to understand, if I buy a piece of land and the zoning is good for apartments, it will move on. Tax incentives, one exception. North Overland Park Metcalf Crossing. There was a hotel which we would get 70, 80 calls a week to our police force, human trafficking, drug dealing. Somebody came and wanted to buy it and get rid of this blight. Blight is where you put tax incentives. I congratulated Donna. I was the first one who voted yes. But not for a company that has $3 billion assets, wants to make a third luxury office rental and doesn't want to pay their taxes. Not for them.
Faris, one of these 3 questions from one of the audience members has already been answered, and it was also piggybacked on another, but there's 2 more I want to ask that was presented. If elected, what criteria will you use for appointments to the Planning Commission?
Neutrality and coverage on all walks of life. First, neutrality. Second, the coverage in all walks of life. Third, they have to be from Overland Park, and each ward needs to have representation. Right now, it's not necessary to live in Overland Park. I have never heard that you sit on a planning commission and you are not necessarily a resident of that city. These need to be covered. And one of the problems that we have, again, I'm not going to make myself more popular, but is the planning commission. And I haven't, let's be maybe honest, I haven't looked at what they have done recently, but to the best of my knowledge, one of the problems we have is the lack of attention to the voice of the people in planning commission. Every of those neighborhoods, when they came in front of the planning commission, they went home disappointed and frustrated. And I want to put an end to it.
The other question remaining is, how will you protect rural, unincorporated Johnson County from advancing suburban sprawl?
I'm not sure if I have a jurisdiction. I'm just simply not sure I have jurisdiction on that. There is always an appeal to have the rolling greens in front of your eyes. I fully understand and sympathize with them, but again, I'm not aware of the level of jurisdiction of the mayor for a chartered city.
I'm going to move to one more that I had in my list here, and it's regarding 69 Highway.
Mm-hmm.
The 69 Highway Express project, is it on the schedule for completion? Is it on the budget? Yes, as initially planned.
So one of the good credits of the 69 Highway conversation goes again to Scott Hamlin. So this is what Scott asked the estate. The estate is sitting there, 6 engineers, I don't know, 3 people, 2 public relations people. And he's like, okay, so how much money do you want from us? The answer is $20 million from you and if you give us $20 million, we go away, we don't put a toll lane on it. Then Scott asked, I remember that for the rest of my life, asked, how much does it cost to put toll facility on that highway? They're like $16 million. That's a brilliant investment, isn't it? You spend $16 million to put a facility that is collecting $20 million from OP. Why don't we just give you $4 million and you go away? then the numbers changed. It became $30, $40 million, something like that. I think Mike told them, give me your budget. Let me page through it. I will find $5, $6 million in 15 minutes. And please go back and have fun with it. No, sir, we don't want to do it. No, it's not even 93% of that lane is still built by your taxes and you can't drive on it. It's like if you went to the park next time, they said, no, this area, if you want to enter, you have to pay money. What is that going to accomplish? We contacted National Association for Roads or something. They said, Lexus lanes, they call it, are obsolete. They don't help traffic. They don't do anything. I had them on the phone in a public meeting from wherever their headquarters is. They testified that toll lanes are a thing of the past. It was just a golden goose for the state, and probably. And then we got arguments that, oh, city doesn't have to pay anything upfront for it. Well, what difference does it make? The fact that you mortgage your house to a mortgage company does that mean that they are not going to come after you because you don't pay anything up front? Try that. Don't pay their bill. So it was a debacle. I mean, and then the state was that, oh, by the way, if you didn't even pay us that $20 million, this is very funny. We still build it. But it might be 2-3 years later. I'm like, let's go for it. Government and being 2-3 years late is a gift. Is a gift. I don't know, it's what you can see. Then they came back, it was supposed to be for 15 years, then they made it 20 years, or it was supposed to be for 10 years, and they made it 15 years. I think we calculated at some point that even if they kept their promise and they shut it down in 20 years, the collection would be over $100 million. I am not naive, I lived in Boston. I don't think that toll lane is going to come down anytime soon. If you had a place that would collect money for you, would you shut it down? I hope they keep their promise. It's now on our back. I will try my best to at least, I hope I'm not going to be a mayor for 15 years, trust me. You can take her word for it if you don't trust me. But I hope at least they shut it down when they said they would shut it.
Okay. We have 30 minutes left, so if somebody else has questions, you can pass them up to the front. But these two, I feel like you already answered, but I want to go ahead and read them so the press that's here won't think that we were not reading all of the cards. So I have one that says there's an area within a few blocks of here that is a congregating area for homeless people. And I was thinking you mean like on the way in. Do you have a position on this, and if so, a plan for a solution? And the other card has the question, do you have a plan to help the problem of homeless people camping in the parks in our neighborhoods? And I walked the dog 2 weeks ago and walked by a park bench in a public park, and there were 2 people laid out sleeping on the ground behind it. The neighbor at the corner has a big willow tree in her front yard and discovered that she had somebody living under the willow tree in her yard. So, yeah, I'd like to know you already said some of that, but do you want to reiterate for the people?
It's a saddening fact. At the level of human to human feelings, we feel sad for these people. And again, we have an ethical duty to help. There is no question of that. Who would not, which heart would not ache when you see somebody by the street? There's no question of that. We have charities. The government contributes to charities. There is philanthropic activities. We get federal money for the charities that try to help the homeless people. We follow, we continue that. I think all of us have an ethical duty to help the fellow human being. But it cannot press on the rights of the people to use public amenities. Very, very clear. Public parks cannot become homeless camps. We have to enforce the law. We have ordinances against that, and we have a police force. So we enforce it with the most gentle, human way. We will remove those. Again, with the most gentle and human way. And then we continue working with the charities that we have to try to help their pain and suffering. I think this is a balanced approach.
Okay, this one says, I noticed apartments going up where there were one or two housing contractors that are out of Chicago. Downtown seems to be, turning into Chicago, or becoming like Chicago. Do you have a plan to keep this, to keep doing this, or to be using local contractors, or?
I don't think legally we can just say we're going to use local contractors. I don't think the municipal government has that jurisdiction. But the rezoning to high-density apartments will stop under my administration the best that I could. But I don't think we can say, no, the Chicago guy, we're not accept your bid because you're from Chicago. We're going to get sued and we're going to lose. I love to be local, but they have to be competitors.
Okay, I have one last question up here. You were, and Mr. Zinnicki has alluded to it, you were a Democrat before, now you are a Republican. Why? Tell us that story.
Well, first of all, Mike kind of threatened me. Yeah, that kind of like, showed up a couple times at my house and so, no, the values were not matching. I'm going to be perfectly honest and straightforward. Just, the values were not matching. Number one, they put a letter in front of me saying that I need to sign a letter to pledge allegiance, not ever work with any Republican. My friend Scott Mosher, the father of late police officer Mike Mosher, is one of the purest, most blessed people I have ever seen in my life. A man that went to the funeral of the guy who shot his son and said, I believe 2 people went to heaven today, my son and your son. Where do you find a person like that? Republican or whatever. And I just put it, I am a scientist. It's hard to box me. I wasn't. They said, we're going to drop your name from our endorsement list. I'm like, well, so the relationship didn't work. Then there were some agendas, there were some proximity to some of the platforms that the Republican Party was pushing. And I made the move. And by the way, I made the move in December 2023. Okay? Not recently. December 2020.
I would like to add something to that because I was talking with Faris frequently about his party affiliation and what his beliefs were. We talked about a lot about national politics as well as local politics. Some of the things we talked about were some of the comments and things that politicians in Washington, D.C. were talking about that were not supporting America. I'm not going to name names of the Congress people that were doing it, but sometimes they go by the term squad. And people that were burning American flags in the summers of 2020 and other things that were anti-American. And Faris would call me almost every night and say, why are they doing this? This is our country. This is a country that we love, that I came here for. I left my home country. I love this country. Why are they doing this? And I said, Faris, that's who they are. He said, I don't want to be affiliated with them anymore.
Jeff Cox has a saying which says, immigrants are some of the most patriotic. I am not talking about myself. This is out of the mouth of Jeff Cox, councilman for Ward 6. He says, some of the most patriotic people I have seen in this country are immigrants. You know why? They still believe in the dream. They still believe in the dream. And that, I think, is our North Star. I and my wife came to this country with the best of intentions. to join the big, beautiful American family and be a stand with it in truth.
One more that I've got. Faris, are you in favor of using DEI or CRT as a criteria for hiring? Or are you in favor of hiring based on qualifications regardless of race, gender, or other personal
The
characteristics?
second, very quick. When you have a brain tumor and you want the surgeon to open your skull, you want the most qualified surgeon. You don't want the whitest, you don't want the brownest, you don't want anything else. You want the guy who qualifies for it. If a career or a line of profession, everything follows that. You want the most qualified person. I believe in providing opportunity to minorities. I'm a minority. And I can assure you as a minority, that I personally have never been exposed to racism in the United States of America. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, but there is also a lot of opportunities in this country, and we can pursue them. I think US has, for me, as the Faris, when he was 18 years old in Tehran, I was thinking about United States of America. I was looking at the catalogs of Columbia University. I never made it to Columbia. I went to Harvard, but you know, kind of like, yeah. Was a society that was based on freedom and was welcoming if you were there to contribute to it. We want the best qualified person. At the same time, certain neighborhoods, certain areas that need help, they need help. We need to fix the schools there. We need to put qualified, well-trained teachers there so the kids have a chance to go on and prosper. But when it comes to hiring, you have to get the best person to do the job. We have a lot of competition in the world with China, with Russia. I'm not trying to get to the national politics, but we have got to where we are based on that, and we need to continue that. But the thing is, the problem we have is that the values are put in front of each other in an artificial way. DEI versus supporting minorities versus this versus that. No, we can accomplish all of them. Choose the best person to qualify the job, at the same time promote opportunities for sectors of the society that they need that in education. That's what it is. And we saw that that's probably one of the things that came out of the last election, that people of
I don't think I would need this microphone. I'm loud enough. Being a teacher for years, I can talk loudly enough that everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me well? Yes. Good. Having listened to you and your speaking and examples and the things that you'd like to do in future, and giving an example of a beef on a barbecue, remind me of one of the statements of our former president, Reagan. And he said that the statement was, where is the beef? Today, I know the beef is right there, and your title of Dr. No is going to be changed to Dr. Beef.
That's Mr. Shadfar. He worked in the community college for a number of years, dean of community college. He was also known as the Persian Shakespeare.
Okay. The other question that came up here was a question on home.
The other question that was handed to me was another question on homelessness that you've already answered. So we've got 15 minutes. I'd like you at this time to cover any issues that you think are important that didn't come up, that are important to you, that you might give your closing remarks now.
I think all of the issues that was important was covered. I'm very amazed by the great skills of the panel to manage the session. I thank everybody here for their time. Thank you very much for your guys. Thank you, Asia, every one of you. But one thing I wanted to mention is that I believe, and Vicky Klein has written an article named Overland Park at the Crossroad. I think this year election goes a little bit beyond me versus the school or A versus B. It's about a path for Overland Park to choose independence, to choose a evidence-based approach free from tangles and strings to special interest groups versus the way that the business has been going for the last 15 years. That's how much I have researched it. The choice seems to be between true representation and a schematic of representation, where you are free to show up, but you are not going to be listened to. And I have the evidence to prove it, over and over and over, neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood. You drive around, you see these apartments going up. You look at your residential streets. I'm not saying Overland Park is a bad city. Overland Park is a beautiful city. But we do not want to end up like St. Louis. We want to keep the quality of life in a way that our kids want to live here. The agenda is this. I can do a lot of things with my life other than this involvement in municipal affairs. But if the people of Overland Park gave me the honor to represent them, I believe the path that I suggest is based on what I've heard from them and keeps and enhances the quality of life. I believe the other side will erode the quality of life. Somebody was telling me the only problem we have in Leawood is that we are the neighbor to Overland Park. At some level, I am opening my eyes to see how much problem we have caused for the Leawood, actually. So I hope that beyond the dollars spent from the pocket of developers by the mayor, beyond all these TV ads and YouTube ads and projecting that great leaders and minds know what they are doing, I believe that the true value of facts would prevail. I'm not even fundraising, I just vote raise now. And I trust that each and every one of you could be an ambassador if you just talk to 5, 10 neighbors around you. And we will see what comes in November. No matter what happens in November, I did not want to not have an opposition to this system. And I stand here in front of you with that intention. The system needs to be opposed. Maybe I prevail in doing that, but not, if not, at least we continued the conversation. We didn't let the flag fall. Okay? Thank you very much.